DeSantis, he doesn't, I dress the way he campaigns.
I dress the way he recampaigns. That is the Democrat senator from the great state of Pennsylvania, embarrassing himself once again because he spoke. No more dress code for the United States Senate because one deadbeat. It's all about lowering standards bit by bit, right? Who does that, Michael? Who lowers our standards bit by bit? I think we know. They have, the Democrats have after-school clubs dedicated to him. And the Democrats are all about assailing America, American history, capitalism, bankrupting us, the LGBTQ for children, of course. And now with John Fetterman in the Senate, they've decided that instead of asking John Fetterman to put on pants, they're going to tell everybody else, hey, now you don't have to wear pants, because that's it. And it is all about lowering our standards bit by bit, which is why the Democrat Party is here, that's for sure.
What do you think the devil's going to look like if he's around?
God.
Come on, no one's going to be taken in by a guy with a long, red, pointy tail. Come on, what's he going to sound like? No. I'm semi-serious here.
You're serious?
He will be attractive. He'll be nice and helpful.
Well, not Fetterman.
He'll get a job where he influences a great God-fearing nation.
Uh-huh.
He'll never do an evil thing. He'll never deliberately hurt a living thing. He'll just bit by little bit lower our standards where they're important. Just a tiny little bit. Just coax along, flash over substance. Just a tiny little bit.
Well, flash, I don't know if he's flash over substance. He's neither flash nor substance, which is an unusual combination to take to the United States Senate, I've got to say. Well, happy Tuesday and welcome back. We are at 888-630-9625. And that was, of course, Albert Brooks talking to Holly Hunter in the movie Broadcast News. He was talking about journalism, but he was also talking about Satan and the devil lowering our standards bit by bit. And, the Democrats run after-school Satan clubs across America. Iran calls us the great Satan. He's really talking about the Ayatollah, really talking about the Democrat Party. They are the not-so-great Satan. Maybe we should call him that. Call him the not-so-great Satan, the Democrat Party. After-school Satan clubs for the kids, where they've got men dressed as women twerking in your first grader's face because the Democrats are coming for your children. They are what we, until very recently, called child sexual predators. And it's an epidemic. They are the party of Roman Polanski and Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Clinton and all the Democrats that flew on Lolita 1 and went to the private island with Jeffrey Epstein, who then, alone in a jail cell, decided, when there are no cameras and no guards around and nobody watching him, even though he's on suicide watch, to hang himself and die. That's how that goes. It's a wild, wild world out there, that's for sure. And Washington is not supposed to provide this much entertainment to the country and to the world. Washington is supposed to be kind of nose to the grindstone and working late and getting the work of the country done, but that's not really going on much anymore, is it? No, it isn't. And we have, we're looking at another government shutdown. I love a good government shutdown. I love it when the government shuts down. Some radical left-wing website, who is that, Media Idiots, I think it's called, they posted a piece about me on my Newsmax show the other night because somebody brought out, oh no, a government shutdown. I said, it's all right, everybody calm down. The government shuts down every Saturday and Sunday, and it's fine. No big deal, okay? But, this time if the government shuts down, it'll be all the Republicans' fault, because it always is, because the news media gets to say whose fault it is. And they're all Democrats, and that's kind of a problem that we have in America as the merger of state and corporate power. That is the Democrat Party and the media oligarchs, the information oligarchs. And so they control the message. They control the information. They're very, very angry with Elon Musk for taking Twitter away from them, because that was one of their key things. And remember, the FBI corruptly jumped in like a third world secret police force and crushed a story that was a bad news story for the Democrat Party and the Biden campaign. They crushed it because, it turns out a bunch of people in the leadership at the FBI are fascists. That's the thing about them. That's the merger of state and corporate power. And that's your Democrat Party. Also, it turns out that giving $6 billion to Iran in exchange for 5 Americans that they're holding hostage is a really great thing. It couldn't be better, because Joe Biden is now the #1 sponsor of radical Islamic terrorism in the world today. Now, it was Barack Obama and Joe Biden before the new $6 billion transfer. Oh, it's just unfrozen Iranian assets. Yeah, why do you think they were frozen? Huh? And nobody on the news says that. Well, why do you think they were frozen? Oh, yeah, because they're the #1 terrorists in the world. You got ISIS and Al-Qaeda and the Ayatollahs of the Islamic Revolution in Iran. And they, blow up the Jews in Buenos Aires, and they're going to wipe out the great Satan, that's us, and the little Satan, that's Israel. And Joe Biden helped. And I helped, because Joe Biden is not on our side, and the left is not on the side of civilization. And Joe Biden doesn't know who's in charge. He can hardly believe that he's the president of the United States, and neither can I. Just amazing stuff. All right, let's go to these idiots before we get to, let's go to number 4. Before just talking about Iran and what a great deal this is. This is so great. And MSDNC, which is a front group for the international left, the Davos crowd, right? And that means today's Democrat Party. They're not liberals, they're the left. And the Democratic Party isn't. But they invited a left-winger on named Richard Stengel. Richard Stengel was with Time Magazine, and then, like Jim Sciutto, who was at ABC News, Richard Stengel at Time Magazine dropped everything and went to work for the Obama administration because they can't wait to lick the boots of the left. And Richard Stengel, he had a big job at Time Magazine. Then he went to work for the Obama administration, and now he's back to being a fake journalist because it's a revolving door or a circle fest in a hot tub, if you prefer. Hot tub. And Richard Stengel on MSDNC talking about Joe Biden giving $6 billion, American taxpayer dollars. Well, actually, it is. It's unfrozen assets, but it is, they were frozen for a reason, because they're terrorists. And we didn't want the terrorists to have $6 billion because then they would do terrorist things with the $6 billion. And Joe Biden shrugged and said, who cares about that? You got to break a few eggs, as Joseph Stalin and the New York Times like to say, to make an omelet. And that means you have to kill a whole lot of people. And the left is fine with that. Nobody's killed more people than the left. Honestly, radical Islam is just scratching the surface today on all the people the left has killed in the last 100 years. In my grandfather's lifetime, my mother's lifetime, they've killed more than 100 million people. And pay no attention. Radical Islam is on the march, and Joe Biden is helping and unfreezing these assets. Oh, well, it's not our money. It's their money. No, it's frozen assets because they're terrorists. That's the whole point. But you're not going to see that. So MSDNC and Richard Stengel, Time Magazine, Obama administration, now, MSDNC.
The Biden administration, like the Obama administration, like traditional administrations, places a huge premium on getting Americans who are unfairly and illegally held back home. And so what is the price for getting an American back home? There is no price for it. The Biden administration is willing to go to the ends of the earth to get these men home.
To the ends of the earth, $6 billion. There is no price. There is a price. It's $1.2 billion per. That's the whole thing about that. And President Trump, he left out President Trump. President Trump got back hostages from all over the world and didn't pay a dime. and certainly didn't pay Iran $6 billion. Instead, he had Qasem Soleimani killed in an airstrike because he was a terrorist who had murdered lots of Americans in Iraq, a country where Iran was not at war, a country that considers Iraq to be their enemy as well. And President Trump got 58 hostages back home and never paid a dime. Never paid a dime, and certainly didn't pay a dime to any radical Islamic jihadi terrorists. But, you know, the Biden administration, just like the Obama administration before them, remember the planes arriving late at night with pallets of cash, shrink-wrapped, to give to Iran, and then allowing them to continue to enrich uranium and to spin centrifuges and to continue to advance their ballistic missile program, which is designed to kill us with nuclear weapons. And Obama helped, and Biden helped, because they're not on our side. Just a minor detail in the scheme of things, I know. Also, Iran just kicked out a third of the so-called United Nations inspectors that were part of the phony, baloney, pro-death Obama-Biden deal with Iran. And they just kicked him out. And still Joe Biden just goes through with the $6 billion. They're kicking out the contractors, or the inspectors, rather, with the United Nations. They're spinning centrifuges. They're enriching uraniums. They're advancing their ballistic missile program, all allowed under remember, John Kerry, Boltneck, was the big negotiator there. Heck of a job there, Boltneck. And Obama and Biden are on the side of the terrorists and not the United States of America. Hey, there is no price. Richard Stengel, who pretends to be a journalist, but, you know, is now a former Obama administration official. He wasn't quite done.
I would say there is no price that's too high to pay for the release of Americans. Again, it's something that traditionally American administrations do to get Americans back home. It's a great occasion.
No price is too high. Well, no one in the world has ever paid $1.6 billion per hostage before, but Joe Biden just did, and everybody knows that only incentivizes more hostage taking. American hostages now have a price tag. Notwithstanding what this idiot just said, the Obama administration idiot who's a fake journalist and a fake American, and he's not good at math. There is no price. He says, no, there is no price too high. Well, $1.6 billion per hostage is a pretty high price, I got to say. But that's your news media. And I'm looking forward to getting to Senator Ted Cruz, who was en fuego. He was just great yesterday, and I'm going to get to him. Right now, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Brandon. Let's go, Brandon, from Fredericksburg, Virginia. Brandon, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me on.
You bet.
I got a bumper sticker on my car that says, "Your vote killed my interpreter."
Your vote killed my interpreter.
Yeah, a buddy of mine saw it, and he said, "That's harsh, man." He gave me the old argument, both sides are corrupt. It doesn't matter who you vote for. I pointed out, Democrats use corruption to get to D.C., and Republicans get corrupted once they get there. And I think that's why we cycle them through and don't have a solid party that can hold their ground. So.
Yeah, it's one of the big problems, certainly. And you say your vote killed my interpreter.
Yes, sir. I was heavily involved in the digital Dunkirk Afghan evac movement while we were trying to get people out of there. So
yeah, that was my guess.
A little mad about that.
Yeah, well, that's understandable. That was my assumption. You were talking about your interpreter in Afghanistan. Yeah, Biden just brings death everywhere he goes, doesn't he?
Yes, sir.
Death and mayhem. God bless you, Brandon. Thank you. I'm saluting you. Yeah, Afghanistan, the botched evacuation, Joe Biden, he is a disaster. The man is by any measure a complete disaster. And, well, you had here Ted Cruz saying, really, it's Barack Obama running the show behind the curtain. And you and I have talked about this before. The reports of the Biden White House cars being parked at Barack Obama's house by the main mosque in Washington, D.C. Just a coincidence. With his pal Valerie Jarrett, born in Iran. Pay no attention to any of this. Running the show. Now, President Biden's plan to introduce the devious digital dollar is already nefariously underway, and it's very important to understand the potential consequences here because never mind what they're telling you, this is not in your best interest or in mine. Time is very important, and moving now is a great idea if you want to protect your savings. You can help protect your savings from the risks of Biden's digital dollar scheme by diversifying your money in IRAs with gold and silver. You get started by calling the experts at American Alternative Assets. Call them today at 888-4GOLD-20, 888-446-5320. You're going to get all the guidance you need on safeguarding your retirement savings from American Alternative Assets. Say no to Joe Biden's digital dollar. Call 888-4GOLD-20. That's 888-446-5320. Individual results may vary. There is no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Seek your own legal, tax, investment, and financial advice before opening an account. Bam-ba-dam-ba-dam. Yeah, your vote killed my interpreter. That's not an everyday bumper sticker. I like that, Brandon. That's good stuff. All right, Ted Cruz telling the truth coming up, and RFK Jr., maybe he should get security of some kind, but Joe Biden won't allow it. Hey, it's Chris Plant. Excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. Yeah, Joe Biden is at the United Nations in New York City where he's giving a speech about sending weapons to Ukraine for the new endless war. And Joe Biden's Russian land war in Europe. And also, he's going to restructure the world with our money because we're only almost $23 trillion in debt. So, you know, what's a few trillion here and a few trillion there? But he's going to blather. They slept with the people at ABC News and told him everything that he was going to say today. Revamping how the World Bank and other multilateral development banks work with low and middle income countries. We now have low and middle income countries, not just neighborhoods or people, but countries. You know what they need? Trillions of our dollars. The push is an implicit counterweight to China's long-time investment in developing nations around the world. Joe Biden is there to give away the store. He's there. It's a massive redistribution of wealth from us to them.
The United States seeks a more secure, more prosperous, more equitable world for all people because we know our future is bound to yours. Let me repeat that again. We know our future is bound to yours.
Yeah.
And no nation
and to all four bedposts
can meet the challenges of today alone.
Yeah, but we're going to try and see if we can bankrupt capitalism. It's the Cloward and Piven strategy that is being animated by the Biden administration, bankrupting the United States of America. We're on track to add yet another trillion. We're going to tick up. It would already take us more than 1 million years to pay off our national debt if we started paying it off at $1 a second. $1 a second. Right? 1 million seconds is about 11 and a half days. So if I gave you $1 per second for 11 and a half days, I would have given you $1 million, $1 bills, you know. But to pay off the national debt would take more than 1 million years at $1 a second. And that no time for sleep at night or weekends off. None of that. That's $1 a second for more than 1 million years because $23 trillion, more than 1 million years in seconds because Democrats and lazy, stupid Republicans too, but Honestly, there is no adult leadership in the United States of America. There are some commies. There are lots of commies. They're all over the place these days. They're actual commies, I got to say. Speaking of the commies, Elon Musk, not a commie. Elon Musk says the old Twitter regime censored Republicans 10 times more than leftists. And the Media Research Center, Newsbusters, has this story, MRC Free Speech. And their headline, Musk says old Twitter regime censored GOP 10 times more than leftists. And Catherine Salgado has the story. Just amazing. The owner of X, Elon Musk, says the platform should be for moderate Americans, not just leftists. Imagine that, not just leftists. Come on. He did a podcast, the All In podcast, hosted by various people. And Elon Musk said, oh, yeah, just by the way, you know, they had these censors, these left-wing, radical California, dim-witted censors, and they would stop speech because they're not American. Their values are not American values. And they would stop the free speech of conservatives 10 times more, 1,000%, than they would stop lefties. The lefties, I think, probably had to be calling for the assassination of a Democrat before they stepped on their free speech. But pay no attention to that. So Elon Musk is out there telling the truth, and the left hates that. The left hates the truth. And so they hate Elon Musk, don't they? Yes, they do. And I want to get to the armed man impersonating a U.S. Marshal was arrested at a Robert F. Kennedy Jr. event. And still, the Biden administration will not provide him Secret Service protection. And the rules of Secret Service protection were actually changed after his father was assassinated. His father didn't have Secret Service protection. He had Rosie Greer and Rayford Johnson. And they changed the rules after RFK was assassinated. And the president, Joe Biden, amazingly, could give RFK Jr. Secret Service protection, but won't, because they're not decent people. They're not civilized people, and they like their political enemies to be threatened, to be under threat at all times. The New York Post has the story day before yesterday. It happened over the weekend, or at least the story broke over the weekend. Armed man impersonating U.S. Marshal arrested at R.F. Kennedy event. ID'd. He's been identified. Again, this was over the weekend that we learned this, but a man who claimed to be part of Robert F. Kennedy's security detail, but he wasn't, while carrying pistols and extra ammunition, was quickly detained by authorities after showing up at a California event. California is where Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s father was assassinated by Sirhan because Sirhan thought he was too pro-Israel, and the Democrats are still pretty much there. Now they're closer to Sirhan on the political spectrum than they are to Robert F. Kennedy. So after featuring the Democratic political candidate, authorities said the man wearing 2 shoulder holsters loaded with pistols and spare ammunition magazines was carrying a U.S. Marshal's badge on a lanyard and a belt clip federal ID. Joe Biden still won't allow the Secret Service to provide security to him because, they're commies. And you may remember during the Obama administration that a senior person, I think communications director, Anita Dunn, bragged about how she loves Chairman Mao, the #1 mass murderer of humanity in human history.
2 of my favorite political philosophers, Mao Zedong and Mother Teresa.
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, was Mother Teresa a political philosopher? No, but her favorite, I guess, we're left with Chairman Mao, who murdered between 50 million and 75 million people in the name of bringing about utopia and of course, free health care. And then Ron Bloom, a senior official in the Obama administration, also, kind of laid right on the table here what the left thinks, and the Democrat Party is the left.
We know this is largely about power, that it's an adults-only, no-limit game. We kind of agree with Mao that political power comes largely from the barrel of a gun.
There you go, barrel of a gun. And here's this lunatic, the man wearing a black shirt with a white symbol that said emergency medical services. I guess that would be ironic if he... Adrian Paul Aispuro, 44 years old, was charged with carrying concealed weapons and booked on a $35,000 bond. Aispuro's brother, Raymond, who dropped him off at the event, was also briefly detained, said the entire matter was a misunderstanding. His brother is an unemployed emergency medical technician. Sure, nothing to be worried about here. The unemployed EMT with the 2 pistols and the extra magazines and the fake badge. Sure. Mm-hmm. He had been told there was a security job for him there. Sure, that's what's going on. It was a security job for him there. That's your Democrats. All right, let's go to Ted Cruz. Should we go to Ted Cruz? Because Ted Cruz did an interview. Well, he did a podcast, is what he did. I guess that's not the same as doing an interview because I think it's him on his podcast. You know what I mean? Why is that name that Aispuro? That's kind of a familiar name, isn't it? Aispuro. Because the Democrats they're everywhere. And there are stories out there that say that the guy was an anti-vaxxer, an anti-vax thing. RFK Jr. is known to be an anti-vaxxer as well. But the Biden administration will not grant him Secret Service protection. His father, of course, assassinated by Sirhan Sirhan. His uncle, of course, assassinated by Lee Harvey Oswald, whose widow is still alive and whose kids are presumably still living in the United States as well. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, that's right. It was Emma Aispuro, the same last name, is the wife of El Chapo, the Mexican drug lord, right? Joaquin Guzman, known as El Chapo, and the wife of El Chapo is from the Aispuro family. But I'm sure it has nothing to do with anything. All right, let's go to number 10, soundbite number 10. Ted Cruz has a podcast, and Ted Cruz on his podcast is talking about the future of Democrat Party politics, and he believes, and I've talked about this here repeatedly over the course of several months, and I made a video months ago saying Joe Biden would not be the nominee for the Democrat Party next year, and I've talked about Michelle Obama stepping in to become, and then, her wingman is Barack Obama. They move into the White House. The Comintern runs the U.S. government. That's the Communist International, runs the U.S. government. But here's Ted Cruz on the same subject.
Here's the scenario that I think is perhaps most likely and most dangerous. In August of 2024, the Democrat kingmakers jettison Joe Biden and parachute in Michelle Obama.
In August of 2024, the Democratic convention is in Chicago next year, the nominating convention. And I've talked about this, and hey, Michelle Obama can, she's from Chicago. And suddenly Michelle Obama's on stage, and she's got Larry Holmes's arms, which is pretty good. The Democrats love women with big arms. Nobody knows why. And maybe Larry Sinclair knows why Barack Obama likes Michelle Obama's arms, but that's another discussion for another day. But there it is, the kingmakers in the Democrat Party in August of 2024. Next year, hey, the Democrat convention in Chicago, and parachute in Michelle Obama, and there's Barack on stage again, and the Democrats begin gushing, and they pine to brush against the hem of his garment, and they can't wait to touch him in ways that, normally reserved for a dark theater where Beetlejuice is playing. And there's Ted Cruz with his hypothesis, what the Democrats have up their sleeves. And, the problem that the Democrats have, and I've talked about this here, You get rid of Joe Biden, and then they got to get rid of Kamala Harris, too. But they can't do that because they're Democrats and identity politics and everything. She is a WOC, a woman of color, and part black, part Indian from India, and not at all American. But Kamala is dumb, and she screws up everything, and everybody knows it. And she's the least popular vice president in the history of polling. No vice president in the history of the United States has ever polled as low as Kamala Harris. And the media loves Michelle Obama. They want to date her. Now, she's off flying on other people's Gulfstream jets and their 300-foot yachts and, whatever exclusive locations she's hiding out. We don't see a lot of her. She doesn't want the job, but they'll convince her that she doesn't have to do anything. They'll bring in Valerie Jarrett to run everything, and you can do a photo op and sneer every now and then and condemn everyone, and it'll be fine. You won't have to do anything. But Ted Cruz, you see, talking about the fact that it's going to be hard to get rid of Kamala Harris and replace her unless you replace her with another woman of color. That's the Democrats' racist game here, right? Jefferson Davis, the Confederate States of America, the Democrat Party, the White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, Nathan Bedford Forrest, the Democrat Party, Jim Crow, every Jim Crow law was a Democrat law, standing in schoolhouse doors, every standing in schoolhouse door person was a Democrat, from George Wallace to Orville Faubus. Orville Faubus endorsed Bill Clinton for governor much later on, the guy who stood in the schoolhouse door at Central High. Here is Ted Cruz on that little issue.
So, Michelle Obama, number one, you don't infuriate African-American women, which is a critical part of the constituency that Democrats are relying on to win. But number two, you avoid the problem. If you pick from any of the four, the other three are pissed because they're all, to some extent, peers, they're rivals, they're all jabbing knives at each other. Michelle Obama, because she was First Lady, has the ability to kind of parachute in above all four and say, hey, we're not picking among any of you. You guys can all fight it out next time. You're all going to be on the same level. We're coming. This is the Obamas saving the day.
Yeah, and that is, I apologize, I should have set that up a little better. Kamala Harris, he was talking about. Pete Buttigieg, see, he checks a box because he's a gay man. He's a white man, but he's a gay man. And he brought that child porn buddy of his, the mayor of College Park, who I think is in prison now for all the child porn. Pete Buttigieg, it was all gay child porn. So that makes it better, I think, for Democrats, doesn't it? They like gay child porn. They don't like straight child porn. They just like gay child porn. So Kamala or Buttigieg or Gavin Newsom or Elizabeth Warren. Hey-ho, ya, hi-ho, ya. Because Elizabeth Warren is a Native American, even though she's not. So if they don't bring in Kamala to be the president when they kick Joe Biden to the curb, then they got to bring Buttigieg because he's gay, and maybe Newsom because he has really wrecked California, and he can do that to the whole country. Or Pocahontas Warren. Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? And so you got that going for you. Just amazing. Yes, sir. All right, Ted Cruz on who's really in charge in the Biden White House.
Barack Obama is already running the Biden administration. I think he is already the puppet master behind this Biden White House. I don't think Joe Biden is the decision maker. And so when I see the media turning on Joe Biden right now, I think the odds of Michelle Obama parachuting in August of 2024 have risen dramatically. And that ought to scare the hell out of anyone who is unhappy about the direction this country is going and doesn't want us to go even crazier in an even worse direction.
Well, the Democrats are even crazier and want to go in an even worse direction with more crime and more gangs and less English speaking and a worse economy and bankrupting the United States and funneling all of our money to, what do they call the southern countries? No, what he called them the third world, and then he said, I mean the southern countries. And they're going to get all our money because the Democrats, you keep working hard because the Democrats have designs on your money. And I think Ted Cruz, maybe he's been listening to my radio show because I've been talking about all of that for quite some time. Hey, do you have stinky odors in your home you just can't get rid of but would sure like to? Well, now you can get rid of any stinky odor with the Eden Pure Thunderstorm Air Purifier. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm gets rid of strong odors from cooking and cigarette smoke and litter boxes and garbage cans, and even leftists are no match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. The Thunderstorm starts working in a matter of seconds to clear any room of any odor, and you don't have to buy filters to replace again and again. It's a self-contained unit, and you can hold one in your hand like this. More than 350,000 units sold already, thousands of 5-star reviews online. You can look them up for yourself. They work like a champ. And this week, I've got a great deal for you to get your own Thunderstorms. Right now, you can save $200 American on 3 Eden Pure Thunderstorms for a whole home protection. That's 3 units for under $200. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com. You enter the discount code Chris. That's me. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is Chris. Plus, you get free shipping. Yes, sir. Yeah, Ted Cruz. He's on a... You know Joe Biden's not going to be the guy. I think you probably, I don't want to say you heard it here first, but months ago, Joe Biden will not be the nominee, and Kamala Harris will not be the replacement. I said that very clearly months ago. Well, I think maybe we don't have enough time to do a caller justice. I was just saying to Michael, let's go to a call. But I'm looking at the clock, and I don't want to give you short shrift. Are you familiar with this left-wing, America-hating, pathetic, wimpy victim, fake comedian named Hassan Minhaj? Hassan Minhaj. He's Comedy Central. The left loves him because his name is Hassan Minhaj, right? And he has dark hair and a beard and, may get extra security at TSA like I always do. And he spends his whole life talking about how everybody's racist in America. It's fake comedy. It's not real comedy. And how the cops threw him on the hood of a car. And, it turns out it's all made up. It's all fake. It's his America Bad, Everybody's Racist comedy routine that's been going on for years. And he accidentally admitted the other day that really none of it ever happened. He just made it all up because he wants to be a victim, because he's a leftist, America-hating leftist.